All right, welcome to another exciting episode of Politics and Movies. This is a fun one. This is an exciting one. This is all of the superlatives. Think of some and then get back to me. You can email them constantly, every hour on the hour if you like. These fucking morons can go 40 miles an hour and a 25 if it makes them happier with their miserable, rotting lives.
Exuberant.
Yeah.
Decadent.
Yeah. I hope when they I hope they're getting to their loved ones show up with guns and shoot them into Swiss cheese.
Or their loved ones are cheating on them.
Yeah, but that's not violent. We're talking about a violent movie today. This is Zodiac, the 2007 American crime thriller, directed by David Fincher and written by James Vanderbilt, written or based on the nonfiction books written by Robert Graysmith, Zodiac, 1986, and Zodiac Unmasked from 2002. And of course, the movie stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Edwards, Brian Cox, Elias Koteas, Donald Logue, John Carroll Lynch, Chloe Sevigny, Philip Baker Hall, and Dermot Mulroney. And of course, produced by Mike Medavoy, Arnold W. Messer, Bradley J. Fisher, James Vanderbilt, and Sean Sheffin. All right. Please don't have a name that's hard to pronounce if you're going to get into film. What the fuck are you even doing in film if you have a name like that? I'm sorry, but it's true. It's real.
When you join the actors union, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't you have to select a name?
Producers are probably more like, oh, well, I'm a producer. I don't have to have a pronounceable name. All right, well, I won't talk to you then. Fuck off. All right.
Les, you're going to enter film. Your last name is not easy to pronounce.
Nobody has to pronounce my last name.
Oh, are you going to change it?
No, I mean, I've already come to terms with them pronouncing it Lucy or whatever. That's fine. Or I could change it to a V, like Dito should have done 80 years ago, but, I digress. Don't worry about it. Americans won't have any problem with the Slavic W sounding like a V sound. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
I can think of several and like directors who nobody pronounces it as a V.
Yeah, totally fair. All right. Do either of you have any thoughts right off the bat about this movie?
Yeah. I would like to say, first and foremost, this isn't a movie about the Zodiac Killer. It's about one man's obsession making his wife leave him. At least the second half is. It's quite funny. Even though it was based on his book. He said after viewing the movie, I now understand why my wife left me, which is quite funny.
Which is quite strange because he still wrote both books, which were nothing but lies. So, but we'll get into that. And that's a strange takeaway to have after seeing the movie that, lionizes your bullshit. Be like, oh, this is why my wife left me, not, oh, I just made an entire industry out of horseshit. Which might be my reaction.
Is there another? There's another author among the characters, I believe. It was one of the was it a Vallejo PD officer?
Which one? Jack Mullinax,
Yes.
the chief there.
Yeah, I believe it was. Or no, it might have been. Oh no, it
Anyway,
was
we'll
Mel
get into all
Nikolai.
that. Well,
It was.
Nikolai.
Yes.
Okay. For the most part, because there are so many names in this case and so many moving parts, let's try to keep it sequential because that's how my notes are. Because I don't actually have an encyclopedic memory of every little facet of this case.
Oh, I thought you did.
The
Well, that's
movie,
why.
the movie, not
Uh,
Well,
yeah,
that's why he took notes.
yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Please let me read my notes.
yeah. Wait, tell the audience how many pages of notes you have.
Oh, I said it was 30. That was actually the reason why it took forever to load last time. No, it's actually 50.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
My God. Get a hobby.
This is it. Fuck off.
I know. I'm joking. Um, I, my thoughts on this movie. Get ready for the hot take. Is 7 is better.
Oh, that's okay.
And also a better look at the you know, psychopath like person who's committing the murders.
Well, I mean that this is a real guy. That was just Kevin Spacey.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
well, I
actually,
mean-
that is Kevin. I was about to say Kevin Spacey actually did that, right?
Oh
Kevin
well, the
Spacey's
witness mysteriously the witness mysteriously disappeared before the trial, so I'm sure it's all fine.
Kevin
Nothing
Spacey
was going on there.
did do some things, but we're not
Yeah,
allegedly these things.
yeah. It's not relevant to this, so we don't have to get into that and open ourselves up to a lawsuit. So, uh, anyway, with this movie, what other did you have any other like initial thoughts, Billy? Or anything with like any of the settings or the victims or like of course some of the major players right off the bat, which I can tell you
Yeah.
in both the movie and real life, are of course Robert Graysmith, the cartoonist turned reporter slash journalist and
Liar.
researcher for this book, and liar. Yeah, well, we'll get to that. That's not. We don't need to get into that right now. But then Paul Avery, the actual journalist who the movie absolutely shits on, and we'll get into that. Um,
Yeah. I will make a brief comment. I will say this movie was extremely influential for this genre. It's like got some of the best killer scenes
Yeah.
and murders. It sets up the atmosphere extremely well.
Oh, yeah.
And David Fincher is just a masterclass director with that. Like
Mhm.
it is an extremely influential movie for that reason.
Well, it's funny because speaking of Fincher, I mentioned Jack Warner on the Casablanca episode because he was the studio executive at the time that was running shit at Warner Brothers, and he was directly involved with Casablanca. He would have absolutely hated Fincher and everything about him and everything to do with the production of this movie. Fincher's obsessive 70 plus takes of every scene, and making an actor pick up the phone over and over again for 70 takes, like, and of course the production, the actors were upset about that too, because they were like, I remember distinctly that especially Robert Downey Jr. and Jake Gyllenhaal were like really upset about the grueling production schedule, and I believe they protested by peeing in bottles, Amazon style.
Did they make anybody drink them?
Not that I know of, but I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. is into some weird shit. I don't know.
Just let me get a taste of that Jake Gyllenhaal piss real quick.
Oh boy, this tastes just like Nightcrawler.
Yum yum.
Yum yum. All right.
That's another sociopath.
Oh, that character. Oh, it's funny. Fishy wants to
Yeah.
do that movie at some point. He loves it.
Mhm.
That would be a good one.
That
to
is a
do.
good movie.
Yeah, great movie. Great look at the sleazy side of journalism and getting the scoop. Yeah, and just a brilliant satire. But yeah, some of the other important players in this are, of course, Inspector Dave Koski and his partner for most of the investigation, Inspector Bill Armstrong, and the hot shit lawyer Melvin Belli, played by Brian Cox, who I was telling Smoopy before we started recording was basically like a Johnny Cochran type, just very wildly successful, had a lot of like huge cases in San Francisco, and had a massive law firm, and just was actually a big deal. And it's really kind of really funny that the movie chooses to have him like obsessed with like showing off his minor role in the original series of Star Trek.
Mhm.
Like just imagine like who plays him, Brian Cox, like dressed up in green makeup and like just silly costume, like glittery and fucking walking around acting like a big deal. But let me get into the beginning, because that's a good place. Oh, I brought up Jack Warner. Sorry, I'm all over the place right now. Jack Warner would have hated this production because of because he was like when he was the head of Warner Brothers, who is a producer on this film and distributor. He was obsessed with in the opposite kind of way. He wanted movies to be done in a really short time, go under budget. Like Casablanca was shot in just 59 days, and the script was written on the fly. They were getting the
Mhm.
actors were getting pages every day. So yeah, totally opposite of this production. But since we briefly mentioned the accuracy, David Fincher's Zodiac is highly accurate regarding the atmosphere and police procedural details, but it heavily relies on the central narrative that modern investigators and science have completely discredited. Completely.
Mhm.
And, it's because it's strictly adapted from the books by Robert Graysmith, and Graysmith's narrative focuses almost exclusively on Arthur Lee Allen as the prime suspect. The film frames certain stuff like the basement scene with Bob Vaughn, the confrontation at the hardware store where he works at, as like definitive proof of Alan's guilt instead of just confirmation bias. And of course, Arthur Lee Allen was never charged. He died in 1992 before any prosecution could occur. And of course, Graysmith has been heavily criticized by modern researchers for altering timelines, misrepresenting police reports, and ignoring tons of evidence that cleared Allen. Since
Yeah, it was basically his confirmation bias,
yeah, that's
which
Mhm.
is great for great for conducting research and trying to find out who did something.
Yeah,
yeah,
like I think a lot of it's just like, oh, this guy diddled kids, like to the insane to me. It is crazy. Like, oh yeah, this guy did this, so he must be this other terrible thing. Which
yeah. Well, that's
like, go
well.
ahead.
I'm just saying, to me, that's the greatest irony of the case. Like, yeah, he was a pedophile, and the system actually processed him correctly for that. He served time. For that, for the crimes he actually did. So the idea that like he's the one that got away is absolute nonsense in this case. Like I'm not saying that the system always works or that it's bulletproof and flawless. It's absolutely not, of course. But in this one specific case, it actually did do its job exactly as, intended.
Well, I think it goes to show. I know we've talked about this before, especially when we're talking shit. How hard of a job it actually is, like to be 100% accurate, to get the right person with the evidence that you have, with people withholding evidence, with the timed subject of, with how relative information can come and go. Like, it's police work is actually like such a fucking difficult job, and to have no experience and jump into that, like, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Right, right. I mean, take it from Dave Toschi, played by Mark Ruffalo himself, later in the movie when Graysmith, played by Gyllenhaal, is investigating, and Toschi says, hey, dude, like it's been years. People forget stuff. People die. People move on. Like it's really hard to keep track of an investigation like this after
Yep.
years or decades, in some cases, have passed.
And you have to be incredibly self-aware as well to understand, like, how much of this is your own bias, how much of this is your wish to just get a man,
Yeah.
or get the person who committed these crimes, because at this point you're hooked. It's that fallacy, the gambling fallacy. Like, I'm all in this. I gotta get my person now. I gotta get this to its inevitable conclusion of getting my person, which is why I feel like the movie ends where it does, to make us feel like, oh yeah, the Zodiac killer was caught.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a cliffhanger otherwise,
Right, right. Which in reality it was. Right. But like, yeah, the other interesting thing about that is you talk about confirmation bias. Like the idea of him saying, I need to look him in the eye and know it's him, and then showing up at Arthur Lee Allen's place of work and just staring at him and going, "Yep, that's my guy." Like that's the ultimate confirmation bias. What the fuck? That's not how. Oh wow, you got the proof, right? Let's throw him away. It was a guy. Right?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Just imagine in a court of law. All right, give me your undeniable proof, and you just give him a picture of the guy's eyes. This is the eyes of a killer.
Yeah, I mean, like take me for example. Like I'm a pretty intimidating looking dude. Sometimes I'm 6'4". I'm over 200 pounds, heavy, and I have intense blue eyes. If Robert Graysmith looked into my eyes, could he then decide that I'm the Zodiac killer, or maybe I did some other ones?
No, Ted Cruz is the Zodiac killer. That's
Yeah.
been confirmed, actually.
Yeah, it's he did it when he was 2 years old. Yeah, or
Yeah.
My senator.
actually, he was born in he was born in 67, right? Pretty sure.
Yeah.
The
Think so.
first killing happened in 66, so the year before he was born. He went back in time, and I know it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's confirmation bias I can get behind.
I think
Yeah. That's a dangerous toddler.
yeah. And that scene after Robert Graysmith had already released his book. I think it was in like the scene with Mike
In the
Mageau
airport.
getting asked,
Yeah.
and in the airport. I think it was in the night. Did that take place in the 90s?
Yeah, like 91.
Yeah, that is absurd to me. Like when you were talking about Dave Toschi's talking to Robert Graysmith, like you're talking to the victim like 3 decades later or something, and expecting them to get something in a lineup, and that's crazy to me.
Oh, well, it's almost like that's literally what happened, because when Mike Mageau was originally interviewed, like right after the murder, he said that he couldn't positively identify the guy. And then 3 decades later, he's like, "Yep, that's my guy. That actually happened."
It's like, what happened in that 3 decades, dude?
It's
I
just
mean,
like,
to be fair, Mike Michelle was heavily suffering from PTSD, and didn't have the greatest life as a result.
Mhm.
If you want a hero, quote unquote hero victim of this case, it is Brian Hartnell. He's like a true crime legend. He does like all of the podcasts and all the shows. He's got a great personality, and like he has a wife and kids, and he's doing well. He's successful and he's well adjusted somehow. So like, yeah, like Brian Hartnell's doing all right. He was the Lake Berryessa guy with the glasses.
yes. It's the
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, in 2002, San Francisco police developed a partial DNA profile from the envelopes. Arthur Leon's DNA did not match this profile. None of the partial fingerprints lifted from the Stein taxicab or the letters have ever been matched to Al. In December 2020, a team of amateur code breakers solved the 340 character cipher. It revealed no names, only the chilling phrase, "I hope you are having lots of fun trying to catch me." And
Damn, that's so
yeah,
fucking taunting. Like, what an
yeah,
asshole.
he really was.
Well, he's a murderer. Obviously, he's a dick.
Yeah.
I know, but it's just like people expecting like something like that they'd actually get out of it, and it's just like, "Whoa, did you have fun solving my little puzzle?"
The man killed
Yeah.
like 4 people.
Confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, obviously, he's kind of the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the fingerprints,
Yeah.
how are we sure those were the Zodiac killers?
For the cab, we're not. For the envelope, they were pretty sure. And the letter.
Okay.
It wasn't just the envelope, the letters too. There were fingerprints.
And all 3 of those matched?
Yeah, because if it was the
Yeah,
envelope,
they didn't match.
it could have been
What
a
do you mean
postal
they
worker, right? Like,
Oh.
yeah,
but the letters themselves, that makes sense.
right. Yeah, nothing matched Arthur Lee.
Oh, no, I mean, so, like, the cab and then the letters, they all matched each other.
Oh,
They were all the same fingerprints.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
But that probably comes up further in my notes. But the like especially the bloody thumbprint from the cab, like that was probably Zodiac, and that doesn't match anyone.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, just moving down the timeline, modern day. In 2021, an independent group called the Case Breakers claimed Gary Francis Post was the Zodiac. I think you guys probably remember that. The FBI and local police departments immediately released statements stating the case remains open and unsolved, dismissing their claims. And I'm going to go ahead and say it almost certainly wasn't him.
Why do you think that?
We'll get into it.
Okay.
But then there's the no Zodiac theory, popularized by researcher Thomas Horan. This theory suggests that there was no single Zodiac killer. Instead, it posits that different people committed the murders, and an opportunistic hoaxer, possibly a journalist or someone close to the investigation, wrote the letters to tie them together. And like the biggest proof of that is just the fact that the call into the Jim Dunbar show was a mental patient, and But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't just the Zodiac killer. There was other like killers around that time, like Richard Ramirez, who were definitely
the night.
the killers.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like of course it was. Late '60s California. There were tons of weird fuckers actually around there, and you know, there was the Manson family was active. There were tons of fuckers out
yeah, something's in the water for sure.
there.
The 70s were a fucking field day for murder
Yeah.
for serial killers.
Yeah,
Oh God, that reminds me of when I said on the Small Soldiers that Latchkey Kids were an open buffet for serial killers in the '70s and '80s.
God.
hey, it's true.
It is true, unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember our grandmother like used to scare the fuck out of me by like always just saying, "Watch out! Like someone's gonna nab you in a white van, and you're gonna be gone and dead forever, and you're gonna get raped."
When, in
Yeah.
reality, 90% or some like ridiculously high number of that sort of thing happening is people you know. Right? Like the 70s
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
put the fear of God, or I guess, strangers into a
Others.
lot of
Yeah.
people, even though
Strange. Stranger
statistically
danger.
statistically it is not the strangers you should be worried about. And that's not to say don't be worried about a stranger who is acting, you know, in a threatening manner. But
If someone comes up and offers you a balloon and tells you to get in the car, probably don't do that.
yeah,
Yeah,
they in fact do not
but
all
like,
float down there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no floating
yeah, but for
Just
the
in the sewer
Zodiac
water.
killer cases, he was always a stranger to every one of these people.
Yeah, which is interesting because the movie, of course, frames it as if, the Zodiac had to have known Darlene Ferrin. That is absolutely not the case. That's some bullshit Gray Smith made up, and we'll get into that too.
Yeah, he probably just hated women. Like a lot of
Could be.
people in the
Well,
I
70s.
mean,
Heyo.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah, that is a theory that holds some because, yeah, when he did target couples, he disproportionately went ham on the women, yeah, and they usually didn't survive.
Well, they just didn't survive. There were no I at least don't believe there to be any women survivors. But there were only 2 survivors and they were both men.
Yeah, but yeah, like I think it's interesting also that the context of when the Zodiac, was around. Like it was right at the height of the rise of counterculture. It was at the time of the massive anti-Vietnam protests. The rise of the Black Panther Party and the deep distrust of authority. The police were usually seen as incompetent or outdated. Which is not unfair.
Yeah, especially, given the details of this case surrounding the uh,
Paul Stein.
murder of Paul Stein. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. If the cops weren't looking for a black guy, they would have fucking caught him then. Yeah, that's a fair point. Oh, but we were told that it was a black guy. Oh, so you're just gonna let everyone covered in blood walk through the park unless an APB goes out specifically saying, "Hey, look out for people covered in blood, you fucking idiot."
absolutely. Why?
I just thought he had syrup all over him. Jesus Christ, why are you allowed to do anything in life?
yeah. Once again, letting your bias take
Yeah.
control of your, common sense.
Yeah. And of course, this is the birth of the media whore serial killer. The Zodiac used the press as a weapon. By forcing newspapers to print ciphers on the front page under threat of more killings, he pioneered the modern true crime media circus.
And
the movie highlights a massive historical hurdle of the cooperation between the police departments, saying that Napa, Vallejo, and San Francisco could not easily share evidence or databases, which allowed the killer to exploit the borders between counties. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, I suppose is a good thing. I believe there were multiple instances of like being not as much cooperation as there maybe should have been between Vallejo PD and San Francisco PD.
And a few others.
Yeah, a few others, but those were the main ones in the movie, so I'm mentioning those by name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, I mean, to be fair, the Napa County Police Department was important because that was the Paul Avery's breakthrough about the 66 murder being Zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like it's definitely, there is some truth there, but the movie definitely, like everything, definitely heightens the narrative that like the police didn't do anything right, which is like totally understandable for a movie framed around the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it's not entirely true.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of like the Zodiac killer was able to have everyone work against each other in a way. Like, they're working against the media, and then they're also working internally against themselves, and then like even the normal everyday people are getting involved because of the ultimate fear inside of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just becomes a shit show.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've talked a lot about the meta narrative. Let's get into the actual textual narrative and start with the opening scene where we hear a song playing over the Warner Brothers logo. Do either of you know that song?
No.
No.
It is.
I'm familiar with the Warner Brothers logo.
Oh, good. That helps.
Sorry.
Just imagine Porky Pig coming out of it. That'll help.
Oh yeah, it's that song. I'm the Zodiac killer.
That's all, folks.
Nah, Porky Pig would be portrayed
got my slaves in the afterlife.
by one of the cops.
Because they're pig.
Yes.
I, for one, look forward to the day that cops are no longer referred to as pig. Arthur Lee Allen Apps did not fucking say that to Dave Tosky.
And he'd be wrong.
I'm just saying that absolutely didn't fucking happen. Thanks,
I look forward
James
to the day
Vanderbilt. That's
we have a form of justice that doesn't require the term in some ways.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that song is "Easy to Be Hard" by Three Dog Night from the Hair soundtrack. So it's like an early bit of Fincher is a master of soundtrack dissonance. We've talked about soundtrack dissonance a lot on this show, so I won't get into it too much. But this is an interesting framing device for the intro of the movie, because it's a song originally from the counterculture rock musical Hair, and the lyrics contrast beautifully and chillingly with the rest of the movie. how can people be so heartless? How can people be so cruel? And we see cruelty in this movie. So like, really, I don't know if it really would be an instance of soundtrack dissonance. That sounds more like cinematic symmetry. Like you're literally conveying what the message of the movie is in a way. But I also, of course, on the movie side, I love the slow gliding camera shot tracking the quiet Vallejo, California neighborhood on 4th of July, 1969. It's nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that scene was kind of weird. It follows it pretty well. Like it follows what happens in the actual murder. But
Well, that was that doesn't happen then. That happens in a couple scenes,
yeah.
with a different song. You know the song.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about when he tells him to get out of the car and shoots the tires for no reason.
No, but like okay, let me set up the scene you are talking about. Immediately following the credits, Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau are in the car together, and like first they go to the burger joint, because Darlene says she's hungry, and then she changes her mind, and because she sees a black car. And like we're meant to think that that's something that she's not telling Mike, that like she knows this guy that's following them. And then like that always stuck with me, like the first few times I saw this movie, like, wow, is there actually something there? But like, yeah, so then they pull into the Blue Rock Springs parking lot, and Hurdy-Gurdy Man turns on the radio and plays up until the Zodiac fucking shoots him. And I'm sorry, yeah, like real quick, I really like how Fincher like sets this scene up beautifully. This is exactly everything that happens in that scene is exactly as the witness Mike Mageau reported it. Down to him, climbing over the seat, and the Zodiac killer, continuing to shoot him in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that all happened, and that's crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting too, just from a what happened, since it is very strange to me. Like, I think it makes sense because it's more than likely let's make them scared before I kill them. It was a cruelty thing.
I mean,
but at the same time, it also doesn't really make sense in some ways.
yeah, I don't know how much of that was intentional, because
Yeah, it was just,
yeah, we have the line from Mike, man, you really creeped us out, when he walks up with the flashlight, because he assumes it's a cop, right?
Mhm.
And then the guy doesn't say anything and just immediately opens fire. So I don't know if he was actually trying to scare them, or if he was just looking for an easy kill, because they're two kids in a lover's lane, on the 4th of July.
Mhm.
So yeah, it might have just been an opportunity killing. And we later find out this was Zodiac's first killing. It was in 1966. But the reason why, and I actually really like this, the reason why Fincher insisted on opening with this murder is because, like, we have a living witness. The only murders shown in the film are ones where we have living witnesses, and that's really powerful.
Mhm.
We didn't have any living witnesses for the 1966 murder, so he skips over that one.
That's interesting, because I was wondering about that too.
Yeah.
Because the murders here are definitely just so brutal, but like,
Yeah.
the fact that anybody survived through anything like this is just incredible. Like getting shot
Yeah.
that much,
Multiple
and then
times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're still alive.
Yeah, and then Brian Hartnell getting stabbed multiple times and left to
Yeah.
die by the lake. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
It's like the Zodiac killer just assumed that anybody who would go through that kind of torture and pain would just die.
Right, and
And
that's another interesting point about the resilience of humanity.
Yeah, we,
yeah,
You think?
you
Yeah.
know, fucking uh, often it is often joked about on the internet that people have two modes, and it's I've been shot 12 times and I'm fine, and and I fell on the
50 Cent.
floor, and well, he
Yeah,
was shot. Was it 9 times?
something like that. It was originally reported as 5 times, so it's funny.
Yeah, I've been shot 20 times and I'm fine, and I tripped on a Lego brick and died.
Yeah, stubbed my toe, and I'm in pain for the rest of my life.
Uh,
that
Billy,
shit
have
is
you ever stubbed your
serious.
toe and been in pain for the rest of your life?
I've definitely I've gotten hit by a car, and there's still stupid shit that like makes me rethink my entire pain tolerance.
No, that's fair. Me too. Well, obviously, I didn't get hit by a car, but I watched you get hit by a car. It's the same thing. I claim your pain. I was there. It's my pain too. I'll do the narcissist. But getting back briefly to the scene, and just hurdy-gurdy, man. I love how the movie is really framed by it. Like it's it's played here, and then kind of recontextualized in the ending to just invoke the same ominous energy, of like that this fucker is, like done a lot of damage, and in reality, he was still out there.
mhm.
But like, like let's be real. Like the guy was reported to have at least been in his mid 30s and 66. The fucker would be like in his 90s if he was still alive. And Billy, you know enough about serial killers and true crime to know that if you have that kind of lifestyle, you're not living until you're gonna get burnt out and fucking drink yourself to death by 45 at the latest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or get shot, or like it's like a dangerous sort of existence. You're not gonna live to old age in most cases, unless you're like Ed Gein and you're institutionalized for most of that time.
No access to the booze.
Yeah.
There were some Zodiac letters that came in like after everything. Do you think any of those were authentic?
No, especially the ones claiming that he killed 12 people or whatever the fuck. I yeah,
Yeah.
like I think maybe one of like the early ones of those actually been him, but do I think he actually killed all those people? No. I think he was at
Mhm.
that point just taking claim for anything and everything. Like, in reality, the guy that the weirdo asshole psychopath that picked up the lady with the baby, I don't think that was actually him. And to be fair, it's not just me. People who are experts on the case don't think it was him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like the interesting thing about the songs is just like they represent the peak of hippie idealism. Hair was anti-war, you know rock musical, and Donovan, who did Hurdy Gurdy Man, friend of the Beatles, who studied meditation in India like they did.
Mhm.
And Fincher takes these symbols of peace, love, and community and uses them for a brutal, isolated execution in a dark parking lot. It signals to the audience that the optimistic 1960s are officially dead and replaced by random, senseless violence. Because
And
and like the lyrics of "Easy to Be Hard" are very relevant because the Zodiac wasn't killing for money or revenge. killed because he was cold, heartless, and wanted attention. You know, the song lays out the emotional void of the killer before you ever see him pull a trigger.
Is a good description of the soundtrack. It's a lot of it is very I don't not unbrutal, but like very much a juxtaposition to what you were viewing in the movie.
Yeah, like soundtrack dissonance. You know, they're all
Yeah.
like happy pop songs. You know, we don't get any fucking Black Sabbath in this. Because
Yeah,
you know,
that would
they would
feel somewhat inappropriate.
yeah, yeah, totally fair.
Yeah,
Even
send
more
the message that
inappropriate.
this guy's actually really cool.
I mean, to be fair,
Hell
the
yeah.
first Black Sabbath album came out in '69, so it lines up with the timeline.
I feel like a lot of Black Sabbath's music is not so much like brutal as it is like
Have you
Yes, I
heard Black
have.
Sabbath's first album? It's
Yeah.
fucking terrifying. yeah.
rather than just a cold cynicism from nothing. You know, that would make sense for like a serial killer who's just kind of targeting people for I don't know, being happy.
well, I think it's also just like serves the function of just being diegetic. Like, you know, it's all
Mhm.
pop music we would have heard at this time and been exposed. You know,
Yeah.
to that point, it's interesting. You know, like right before the Paul Stein killing, to you know that it turns like it focuses in on the radio and radio show. The guy like blaming the hippies and the other person blaming Satanists. Like all of that was real. You know, like those were like real things that people were saying at the time. You know, of course, like the satanic panic didn't start proper until after The Exorcist came out, which is hinted at in the movie even, and of course The Exorcist is mentioned in one of the Zodiac letters. But also Mike Warnke's bullshit stories about being a Satanist and drinking blood and all that stupid shit that he made up.
Yeah, it's very strange like way to believe the world works because it's so simple, you know.
Yeah, and it's classic projection. Like I believe in a literal interpretation of the Bible, so I have to believe they're a bad guy. But also believe in a literal interpretation of the Bible.
Yeah. I do think it goes to show just how much people knew about this type of person at that time period, that people were innocent enough to think that like nobody would dare do something like that, and that nobody would want to hurt someone for their own gratification, and just
Yeah. I mean, there definitely was that mindset going back, but as we know, it wasn't the literal reality. Serial killers and murders have been a thing literally forever.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, to your point, there was this idea that like, oh, I can leave my door open, everything is hunky dory, nothing bad can happen. And the 70s were really a cultural turning point for a lot of stuff like that. Like say FDR. We know FDR had polio, but photographers never took pictures of him in his wheelchair. They deliberately said, like, okay, no, we don't do that. Uh, you know, And of course, there's also the aspect of it was during wartime, and we had to for some of that, for some of his term, and we have to show a competent fighting face for that. But there was also the aspect of you just didn't do stuff like that back then, and then Watergate happened, and all of that changed.
Can you imagine what it would be like if we still had that sort of attitude towards modern presidents? Like half of every
God,
speech
in
would
some
be
ways we do.
half of every speech would be just cut out from TV. Especially with our last two presidents.
Oh yeah, when they show when he shows up at the Super Bowl, you can conveniently edit out the yeah, like that would be wild if that was
edit out the entirety of a of Joe Biden stumbling through contradictory statements because of his old disease.
Old disease.
edit out Trump shitting himself in the
He is a liar, but he won't shit himself, believe me.
Yeah. Certainly, we don't have several photos of world leaders holding their noses around.
It's his natural odor.
But let's talk about briefly the myth of the super versus Dave Toschi. The real life hunt for the Zodiac was led by San Francisco Police Department Inspector Dave Toschi, played by Mark Ruffalo. He was a genuine celebrity detective known for his signature upside down shoulder holster, bow tie, and a habit of eating animal crackers. All that was real. And the fact that, Robert Downey Jr.'s Paul Avery, once, sarcastically refers to him as Bullet. He was literally the blueprint for Bullet. Fucking Steve McQueen ripped off his entire look from Dave Toschi, who was a consultant on the movie.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And, the reality of the case is Dave Toschi was, until later on, deeply bound by the law. He lacked sufficient evidence to arrest Arthur Lee Allen. He had to back off. The public, grew intensely frustrated with the legal red tape and the perceived police incompetence. But he was trying to do it by the book, because what would have happened if they groundlessly arrested him? They would have just had to let him go anyway.
Yeah, and then it gets harder for like a retrial, and then you're in a gray area legally, everything. So
Well, it depends. Yeah.
the best he could do in that case was just try to mount more evidence.
Yeah. Or to your point, Arthur Lee Allen could have sued for police harassment or something, and that would have made things more difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is where George Lucas comes into the story. George Lucas grew up in Northern California and closely followed the Zodiac case. Lucas openly stated that he felt Toschi was harshly and unfairly judged by the media and public during the investigation. And as a nod of subtle support and immortality, Lucas named the desert outpost on Tatooine Tashi Station directly after Dave Toschi.
Oh my god, I never realized this.
I learned this
It's a nice little
earlier when Laz spilled the can of beans, so my surprise is a little less now, but
That's just such a ridiculous way of supporting, but it's actually
George Lucas.
awesome.
Yeah, it's very George Lucas. It's on brand for
Honestly,
him.
if I were to ever meet a celebrity director, it would be Lucas, because the man just seems like he has been completely unchanged by money.
Oh, you like my films? I'm gonna go get a burger. You want to join me?
I could see it. I could see it. But I would never catch myself dead in Northern California.
That's fair. Texas. And of course, what I didn't mention is mentioned in the movie. Dirty Harry was, of course, like a dark version of Toski, who is like a fucking right wing vigilante dream who, you know, doesn't care about due process or any of that shit. Let's just go shoot the bad guy.
How old's was Punish? How old is the Punisher's character? Is that Mike? Mike? Yeah,
The Punisher?
Frank Castle. How old is that character?
Frank Cass?
Spider-Man 129, 74. So it might have been
Ah. What? Might have been what?
influenced by that sort of. Oh,
Oh, you think the Punisher was influenced by
just
like the Dirty
not
Harry stuff?
no, not the Dirty Harry, but by, like the murderers and you know serial killers of the 1960s and 70s not being all caught or punished.
Oh well, the Punisher was actually conceived by Jerry Conway for the Amazing Spider-Man, as you said. Conway was inspired by the Executioner. You know, like a men's monthly action adventure paperback book series published from 1969 until 2020.
Damn.
Believe it or not. Yeah, long running. Yeah, the Executioner was also known as Mac Bolan. But yeah, that series was created by author Don Pendleton. It's about a Vietnam veteran named Mac Bolan who becomes a mass murderer of criminals after the mafia-related deaths of his family. Totally, totally unrelated to what happens in The Punisher.
Oh, absolutely. Could never guess.
So, like, you're like the vibe is kind of like, yeah, like it's a very like gritty male power fantasy kind of thing that was just in the air, you know? I think that's a fair way to put it.
Perfect for the right wing to bastardize.
Oh my god. Co-opt. Yeah. Jesus. It's okay when we do it. But yeah, like I liked how the movie, you know, features you know, like the meta scene where Graysmith and Toski meet in the lobby of the movie theater. You know, when Toski walks out of Dirty Harry because he's like, "Fuck this movie," and of course, the villain in Dirty Harry, Scorpion, is directly after Zodiac, and you know, he hijacks a bus. Like, you know, Zodiac said he was gonna pick off children as they, you know, came off the bus. But like, yeah, Dirty Harry was a direct right-wing response to the Zodiac investigation. You know, the film argues that modern constitutional rights like Miranda rights and search warrants only protect monsters, which is absolutely not the case, you know. But like in real life, Toski actually did walk out of the theater during Dirty Harry was so sickened by it. Yeah.
That is hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And like, yeah, like the audience at the time cheered for the Hollywood ending of Harry Callahan, you know, shooting Scorpio because it, you know, Hollywood gave them the closure and brutal vengeance that real world law enforcement could not deliver.
Mhm.
And like as I was alluding during a collapse of institutional trust, Like this, the Zodiac's reign of terror mostly occurred between 68 and 74. What happened during during that time period? The Vietnam War, the Watergate, the Manson family. Yeah. One of those was nearby.
Yeah.
The Zodiac weaponized this social fracture, by proving that the combined forces of the San Francisco Police Department, the FBI, or local sheriffs could not decode a basic cipher or catch a man killing in broad daylight. He shattered the illusion that the state could protect its citizens. And, like before Zodiac, serial killers generally tried to hide their crimes. The Zodiac flipped the script and forced the media to become his PR firm.
Mm.
And he actually did threaten newspapers that if they didn't print his ciphers, he would kill again. The San Francisco Chronicle and Vallejo Times Herald complied out of fear and a desire for massive circulation spikes, if we're being totally real.
Yeah. Modern understanding of serial killers is that a lot of them are doing it for, notoriety or to show off in a way. And people would, there would be a do we really want to do what the killer is saying? If this were to happen, now.
Right. Like you're saying like we don't negotiate with terrorists mindset. Totally fair. And, an interesting thought experiment. Like, how would we handle Zodiac?
Mm-hmm. Well, there have been instances of terrorist attacks where people were explicitly warned beforehand, and sometimes it's not taken seriously.
Yeah.
It's almost
well, also to your point, like the other two major instances of killers, taunting the police, BTK and Kaczynski, the Unabomber, they both got caught because of that shit.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It really shows, like, I feel like in this case, it's so incredible that he didn't get caught. Like, he was, really feeding off of the attention high, and yet he was still able to evade and, not get caught. It just shows how well he exploited it.
Yeah, absolutely. By all accounts, this guy was not actually hyper intelligent. He was probably, probably had an IQ under 90, if we're being honest. But like, it was just a perfect storm of, like you're saying, like the fact that they couldn't like effectively trace the fingerprints, and DNA testing wasn't a thing yet, and just like the opportunity killing, that's always a pain in the ass to fucking track and investigate, that. But yeah, like the fact that he did, taunt the police and media that aggressively and never really got punished for it is pretty sad.
Yeah.
But we have to just hope he had some sort of karmic death, Maybe in 1978 he got run over by a bus. School bus.
School bus.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, going back to how this movie ends, it definitely shows just the real awful truth about something like this, is that sometimes there is no real happy ending. There is no oh, I'm gonna look him in the eye and know that he did it. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't happen. That
Right.
didn't happen, and the person just didn't get caught here.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is interesting also that this was right around the time that media theorist Marshall McLuhan, the Zodiac understood that in the modern television and print era, notoriety was a form of power. He didn't just want to murder people; he wanted to be the real world Michael Myers,
Or
and he thought he
yeah.
was.
Yeah, which goes back to your point. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
Um, but it's a good reason for this movie, not to just like show the violent acts and just be that, but show the people who did survive and have that be the focus and core conceit. So like the actual violence isn't glorified, but the heroism and the act of living through this brutality is what's
Mhm.
focused on.
Well, I would argue he more wanted to be his own, a real life General Zaroff from Most Dangerous Game.
Well, his most dangerous game. He wasn't bougie.
No, he was.
enough.
Yeah, he wasn't. He probably wasn't rich enough, but wasn't a Cossack general.
Have you seen or read the?
The Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah.
I read it when I was in like high school. Uh,
That's fair. It was actually required reading for me in middle school.
yeah, it might have been earlier, but I think it might have been high school. But yeah, I have. Um,
Yeah, it's a fun little action story, but Zodiac had shit taste. They're much better.
yeah, there's much better Russian literature, and most of it's depressing. But
Yeah,
to be fair to Most Dangerous Game, it had a good, I guess, narrative about, or I guess meta narrative about how viewing the world as purely just victims uh and perpetrators, and I'd rather be the perpetrator is fucking stupid, especially the time it was
yeah,
written.
yeah, right. And the protagonist breaks free of that narrative, which kind of makes it hugely ironic that the Zodiac killer was obsessed with this
Yeah,
story because it directly says that people like Zaroff are just fucking exploitative assholes.
yeah, and like, uh, the fact that it starts with him falling off his fucking yacht and going to a private
Yeah,
island is so funny. But this is getting away from us.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's slightly related, so I
Yeah.
keep it in. But but like yeah, like one of the survivors, of course, was Mike Mageau, and he was arguably the more tragic because he never really recovered from this. In a story filled with obsessive cops, narcissistic journalists, and attention-seeking killer, Mageau represents the raw, devastating human. The Zodiac, like he survived the horrific Blue Rock Springs attack, but the Zodiac essentially stole the rest of his life. He spent decades living in deep trauma, paranoia, and isolation.
Mhm.
In the movie, he gets the final word, though, right? Like the film closes in 1991, 20 years after the attack, with an older, deeply worn Mageau sitting in at an airport and in some like private room, and he points at Arthur Lee Allen's picture and says, "Oh yeah, that's him. That's the man who shot me."
Mhm.
And it's like a heartbreaking moment in the movie. It delivers a wave of narrative closure, even though modern science tells us Allen wasn't the guy.
It's
But like, yeah,
in some way, I can see why it's easier for him to just that's the guy. Sort of like trick the mind into like, oh yeah, well obviously he's dead now, right? And it's easier. It is easier to believe that the man that nearly killed Majo and did kill his girlfriend is still out there.
Darlene Ferris.
Yeah. But
Right.
I was phrasing it as like a first person as Mike Majo, but
Right.
on a lighter note, you can tell he's older, more worn out because he's portrayed by Jimmy Simpson. Heyo. I love him too, but he does look very tired. He has a very
Yeah.
I don't want to say sunken face, but
Yeah, he does. He has the lines under his eyes, like me. So I guess I could have played Mike Majo. Granted, I was 17.
Not just you.
I really enjoy a lot of Jimmy Simpson's acting. It's just a shallow joke on his appearance.
I love him as Marion Psych.
Oh yeah, me too. I fucking love Psych.
Yeah, I love Psych too. But yeah, before the shooting, Majo was just a regular kid. I really think that when the Zodiac walks up to the car and Majo delivers that line, "Man, you really creeped us out." It's brilliant and grounded. It captures that exact highly relatable moment of relief right before a situation turns from an awkward misunderstanding into pure horror.
It's do you know if that was like from him? Did he think, or did he say that, or is that just for the movie or for the book?
Oh no, I don't think he actually said.
I was like wondering if it was from Mike Majo's mouth himself. If he
No, Vanderbilt wrote that. He wrote most of the lines in this movie. Yeah,
but
I'll definitely tell you when something is actually
for the purposes of the movie, it does make a good sort of juxtaposition.
Grounded. Yeah. It gives us a little insight into Mike Majo as a character. Like not the real Mike Majo, but like that he, like is really like the minds, like you guys were saying earlier about the mindset set of this time, that like people aren't necessarily on the lookout for serial killers. Like that just wasn't the vibe at the time.
And right now it kind of is, but most people aren't out there to get you.
Right. But some are.
So it's enough to make it make sense that you're a little winters, but it's also just unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's I was just gonna say real quick, even now, like the mainstream attention to serial killers and everything is just skyrocketed, especially with how many people listen to crime podcasts and watch Netflix documentaries, and there wasn't like that media like that back then at all. Like this is now mainstream.
Are we contributing to the problem right now?
Well, I mean, at least it's there's attention on it, so that if things like that did happen, people can be more vigilant. And be more ready.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good point to another callback to what I said on the Small Soldiers episode. Like, it's still a good policy to keep your drink, covered and attended.
Well, yeah, because even if it's
Yeah.
2% of people who do it, it's still like 2% is like it's
That's
still
a
a
lot
lot
of
of people. Even lower, like 0.5% is still like 1 in 200, right? 200 people at a nightclub is not unheard of. That makes sense,
Right.
right?
Right. It's like I never thought about how many people in the US actually have schizoaffective disorder. Like, it's about 1% of the population, which is over 200,000 people, like that's a lot of
Yeah.
people to think about it.
And it's interesting too because it does appear later in life. So that's just the population right now, like that we know of.
Yeah. Well, usually manifests in. It
It was
did
in
for
the
me.
20.
I was 19.
Yeah, it was like around the 20s. Like
What are you talking about?
schizoaffective disorder.
Oh, schizoaffective
Yes.
disorder? It's usually late
Yeah.
teens, sometimes early 20s, sometimes later.
Yeah, sometimes like in the 30s even.
Right. But yeah, usually late teens, early 20s. Ask me how I know. But yeah, I do think let's briefly get into Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Paul Avery. I can't be Paul Avery. I have dental records. Show them to you. I'm not Paul Avery. How do you have teeth? Billy, do you have teeth?
I don't have teeth.
God. Billy could be Paul Avery. Fuck.
I wish I didn't.
Fair.
An
You
empty
love
mouth.
applesauce that much?
Applesauce.
No, I just think it would be satisfying to have an empty mouth. But that's just like a weird thought that I
That is
don't
a
keep to
weird,
myself as much as I
interesting
thought,
thought.
right? As
What?
much as I should.
That is.
What the fuck does that mean?
Oh,
I will tell you from experience working at a inpatient place. The pureed food that I've seen is so fucking gross looking. Like pureed carrots, pureed everything. Like even the nurses, when they're just trying to make sure the kids didn't choke, were just like, that looks disgusting. And I was just like, don't say that in front of the kid eating it, please. Like, if you thought about it on that level, you'd never want to eat again.
yeah, that's fair. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I have an overcrowded mouth and don't know it.
You just want to fit more dicks in.
Jesus
You're
Christ.
underestimating how hard I can unhinge my jaw. It's like a constrictor.
Jesus. Well, good to know.
Hey, Mike, you brought it up.
Yeah, it's your fault.
I'm rolling with it. Hey, I shared my intrusive thoughts too, okay? We're all on the same page.
I wouldn't say it's intrusive so much as like I'm not ashamed of it.
I don't know. Wishing you didn't have any teeth is kind of an intrusive thought.
It's not so much wishing; it would just be nice, you know.
All right. Astounding. Okay. Well, let's talk briefly about how Paul Avery is depicted in this movie. When he sees Mike Majot's name, he has this kind of elitist throwaway. Oh, I think it's pronounced Mayhew. It's a good little characterization of dismissive elitist snob. that he displays several times in the movie, even at his lowest point. And how true to life is Robert Downey Jr.'s character to the real Paul Avery? Because he gets slammed by Duffy Jennings for, going from quote unquote downgrading from the Chronicle to the Sacramento. But that is a massive fucking hand wave by Robert Graysmith, and it's hugely manipulative of what actually happened. Like, oh my god. In reality, Duffy Jennings would not have fucking said. He really respected Paul Avery. Was like a fucking phenom. No reporter at the Chronicle would have been like, "Oh, Paul Avery, that fucking lush. He ain't doing anything with life." But
they really.
I think, just to be fair, though, I do think Robert Downey Jr. is always great, but like the historical reality, his his personality, his character's personality, his career trajectory, and his dynamic with Robert Graysmith reveal, especially where Hollywood took its greatest creative liberties. The scene where Avery lazily butchers Majot's name is pure calculated character design by screenwriter James Vanderbilt. It encapsulates the exact dismissive big city journalist attitude people quote from the victims. In reality, Paul Avery was not a snobbish intellectual. It was a classic dirt under the fingernails, shoe leather police report. He was deeply respected by his peers. He loved hanging out at the newsroom dive bars like the M&M Tavern and being an incredibly tough, dedicated journalist than a fragile. And, the film treats Avery's transfer to the Sacramento pathetic exile to the journalistic wilderness when he fails. And when Robert Graysmith tracks him down, to his like houseboat, he's shown like fucking a complete and utter mess and drinking and getting defensive about his career dip. But leaving the San Francisco Chronicle for the Sacramento in 1996 was not a demotion. Avery actually left the Chronicle to write a highly successful best-selling book about the Patty Hearst kidnapping.
When he delivers lines.
Yeah, like a Red Fire dialogue, like Aaron Sorkin shit.
I would say terse, but a lot of the terseness is more than likely from dialogue that is written for him, but
All right. Well, last thing I'll say about Paul Avery for now. Left the Chronicle to write the Patty Hearst kidnapping. Not because he was a drunk asshole. Not because he was a drunk asshole.
And then, even if he was, that's not why. Right? Like,
so he was not a drunk asshole.
No, he had a wife and kid.
And he knew how to party.
That sucks.
He did drink. He did die from some. I don't remember exactly what he died from. That's further down in my notes. But he died from something that could be a complication from smoking.
And everybody smoked in the 60s, so it's not even like that's an asshole thing.
Right.
That's
just a thing. It was just a thing. Yeah.
It's just a thing that basically everybody. Please only smoke at the back of the plane. Excuse you.
Yeah.
That's the thing that they said in the movie, by the way, when he was following when he was following friggin' Dave Tosky and Bill Armstrong
Well,
right.
God is trying to nerf me again, making literally every microphone I have cut out. So I guess we'll have to end the episode here for now, and that's where we'll pick back up next episode.
Yeah, our first two-parter.
Woo! I mean,
Les, you should tease what we're going to be talking about in part 2, because some people are going to be like, "What? How the fuck is there going to be a part 2 to
I
this?"
think there is a good.
There's a lot more.
I think
to the
there's
story
a
we haven't
good
gotten to.
reason to stop here, actually, because we're talking about the character assassination of Paul Avery. And that brings us to a very good point of talking about Robert Graysmith's half of the movie.
Yeah. Right. That's the entire second half of the movie. We haven't talked about Graysmith at length at all. We've referenced him and made silly little jokes. So let's end it there for now.
Yes.
And
next
any
time
final
we'll
thoughts?
be talking about Robert Graysmith instead of everything else in the movie.
Yeah.
And also, you have your own theory about who the Zodiac killer is too, right?
Yes, we'll get to that. That's
Okay.
definitely a part 2 kind of thing. Anyway.
Oh
Yeah.
no, yeah. I just want people to know.
Fair.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. All right.
Mhm.
Thanks, guys. Sorry that shit keeps happening.
I think a part 2 is inevitable for
That's
this.
fair.
So.
It was spoken about before. It was, ordained.
Yeah, and if we didn't do a part 2, honestly, this episode would be over 3 hours. We're already at an hour and 40 minutes. We're already at an hour and 40 minutes, and we're not even half.
Yeah, thank God for part 2.
Thank God.
Part 2, part 2, part 2.
Fuck you, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Jake, fill my hole.